More medical testing, right?
You have to love it. It's unbelievable how much medical testing you can go through when there's nothing really wrong.
We have a few minor problems. I mean, for our age, I think we're doing better than most people. I hear most people in their 60s are on what? I don't know, a number. I'll just pull a number out of the air, 4 to 8 medications.
Well, there's also, in your 60s, when you have heart issues, you have issues with your limbs, your muscles. You don't get out and walk enough. You're not active. You don't exercise. And you don't eat right. If you're eating a diet today, you're eating a lot of processed foods, even though you don't think you do. Oh no, I eat healthy. No, you look at what you're eating. Look at the ingredients on the back of what you're eating. I'll bet you that there's sugar in it, for one. For two, I'll bet you there's some kind of wheat in it. For three, I'll bet you there's oils, seed oils in whatever you're eating. And, those are the things that cause most of the major issues with your heart, with your stomach, with your brain. And so, getting away from all that, and, we've made a pretty big effort to get away from processed sugar, wheat, all that.
You didn't mention all the chemicals in all of our
Well, I
foods.
didn't want. I thought that was a known factor of all the different chemicals.
All those names we can't pronounce.
Right. I thought that was, known that there is a lot of chemicals, and there's more chemicals in food in America than there is in any other country. You can take the same food and look at the ingredients from one that's exported to another country.
Made by the same corporation,
same
right?
corporation, same plant, but it does have a lot more chemicals.
Because the laws are different per country. But we're not getting into that.
No, that's another subject.
I'm Sue.
And I'm Steve.
And we're aging
joyfully.
joyfully. We're trying to.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, as you age, you do have a lot more issues with, first of all, as we said, medical testing. Our last video was on heart monitors, which I am still wearing.
Still wearing
Steve
it.
is not.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be wearing it, but
I gave it up. I broke out in an incredible rash with bumps, and it was not, and it hurt. I sweat a lot, especially when we work out. And, mostly every morning we work out, so that by the afternoon, it's just hanging on me. And it was just the worst case of worst rash that I've ever had.
Well, there's 2 points where it connects with strong adhesive. And I've had this one on for a week. And so I'm 2 weeks in right now. The first one I wore for a week, and then it started getting bad skin contact. It kept turning red constantly, so I had to take it off. And when I did, mine was bright red as well as Steve's. So it's probably going to start doing that again, where it says, because dirt just naturally gets in after a week, and the adhesive starts getting, I don't know. It still felt pretty strong when I took it off.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I had called the company that manufactures it, and they had said, well, there's a skin sensitive one we can send you. It's like, well, why didn't we think of that in the questionnaire to start with? And I guess I probably wouldn't have, or I probably would have gone that way, because I always
It wasn't an option. It wasn't.
Right,
it
wasn't an option, but I would have gone that way.
I would have too, because
if
I
they had
have.
asked.
We're always those 1% and everything.
Yeah,
have
right.
that sensitive skin.
Right,
I have sensitive skin with Band-Aids, and when they take my blood, I always have. Well, now they put that white wrap instead of a Band-Aid, but they used to put Band-Aids, and then it would leave a nasty mark if I didn't take it off right after getting home.
Right. Now, I've also had a stress test recently, and the stress test was normal. There was some indications of bradycardia, which is the slowing of your heart rate, and we know that. So that's nothing unusual. Everything else.
But the heart monitor would tell you how often you have that low, and that's why it's really important to wear it for 1 month.
Right. I wore it for 8 days, okay, and I believe that was enough. I mean, what is it going to lead to? Is it going to lead to pacemaker? Is it going to lead to some other medication that's going to give me some other side effects? You know, I mean, I'm not going to die because I have bradycardia.
That is a serious condition. If you get
And
your heart gets to 30s and 40s, that is a serious condition.
if it gets there and stays there, then yes, that's a very serious condition. My heart doesn't stay there. My heart gets
But
there.
we don't know that until we get the results of the heart monitor.
We know it doesn't, because if it did, then it would have shown up on the stress test.
No, the stress test is 1 point in time. It could stay there longer than you think. Not just Steve thinks it's what, in the morning or overnight when you're sleeping. You think that's when it's low.
I think when you're calm and you don't have a lot of activity going on in your head, that yes, that's when it does happen.
I think it happens overnight, and we don't know how long. That's why you were in the heart monitor for 1 month, to see how long it is staying that low, because I have the same condition that I have.
Right.
And when she found out we both have, she saw at our EKGs at the initial appointment that we both had heart rates in the 50s, and she said, if it gets to the 40s, it could be pacemakers, but I'm not talking about you two. But it could be pacemakers. And then I saw when I got home that on my Apple Watch I had a history, and mine had been going to the 40s. Now I had this this heart monitor, not this one, but a 2-week one 3 years ago, and she never mentioned it going to the 40s 3 years ago. And I think it probably was, but it wasn't an issue for whatever reason. My results were fine. Now Steve had the first stress test. There's 2 levels. There's an initial basic stress test and a nuclear one. And I thought she ordered the nuclear one for Steve.
Right.
But she did not. That's the one she insists I have. I've had 2 of those, and she wanted me to have a third, and I said there is no reason. The technician told me after the end of the second one that unless you're more than 70% blocked, this does not show anything.
Right, and so it's important. It's important to get a baseline and to understand, where your heart stands, especially at this age. Not that I'm real old, but mid-60s is definitely a time where you should know, what you're up against with your heart, which is the major factor of your body that keeps you living.
Well, it's the number 1 killer in America.
Right. And so, the outcome of the stress test was that there's no sign of any sort of cardiovascular issue. Then you move on from there. So then I question, why do I need a heart monitor? Why do I need to wear a heart monitor for a month? If you
But I've already explained it. We don't know how long your heart is in the 40s. That was the big reason, I believe, was.
Right. Okay, so going on from there, it's that you should understand, what is happening with your body.
Well, I always believed in preventative medicine, but as the more I do, the less I believe in it. I'm reading more and more medical books, and I forgot to bring up the one I'm reading now. It's by Casey Means. It's I never remember names. It's the only book she wrote. She was running for U.S. Surgeon General and didn't get it because they said she had never practiced medicine, but in her book she said she did have a practice, which was like what we call in Georgia a functional doctor. Some people call it what is it called? Wholeness or holistic doctor. Somebody who looks at healthcare from a different standpoint. But anyway, her book is talking about metabolic health and all these issues. Mm-hmm. So I'm reading all these books, and I'm finding that people say that everybody is different, and there's a norm, and I'm always in the 1%. Steve often is too. So our bodies are always different. So they'll try to give you or label you with some condition when it's something that you can live with. That's why I'm getting turned against routine or what we think is non-harmful testing. I'm finding that it is harmful. That's what some of the books have said too, that they'll find some minor thing and want to put you on a pill that will, of course, will have a side effect that will, of course, give you another pill that will have a side effect. So I'm getting a little bit away from just doing testing. I did want to wear the monitor to see where my heart rate stands, and as well as my blood pressure, because Doctors always believed I had high blood pressure because I had white coat syndrome. When you go to the doctor, it would go sky high, and they'd give me high blood pressure pills. And I finally got off of those and take my blood pressure at home every day. They don't always believe me because it's always sky high. Some people, after one reading at my main doctor, they sent me to a cardiologist. That's what started me down this rabbit hole. Just one reading.
And that's what it is.
And I've read today that's ludicrous. You need to do readings at home. To send me to a cardiologist with one high reading is just crazy.
And it is a rabbit hole. I mean, you have to realize that you have to be your own advocate or have a medical advocate with you. But you should really understand why you're going to a doctor, what tests the doctor can perform, what you're looking for the outcome, what are you willing to accept from the standpoint of medication. You know, because you're going to get medication. They're going to prescribe medication. And the medication is, some cases, you need it. You need the medication, and you need to stay on the medication. You need to take the medication. But in some cases, you don't really need the medication. Some things can be taken care of with diet and exercise and drinking more water. Those are the three important things that we have found.
Well, there's more than that. There's sleep. Sleep is
sleep.
critical.
Okay, there's a fourth one.
And stress.
Lowering your stress, but sometimes you can't. So
then you're going to be sick.
Exercising,
you're going to be sick.
The foods you eat, sleep. Okay, I mean, those are the important things.
Not smoking and not drinking.
Well, not smoking. That's a given. Not smoking and not drinking. Okay, I mean, that's what's important, and you can manage your health depending on what you have. Okay.
Some people are born with conditions that they can't help.
Yes.
Some are genetic
and
conditions.
We're not, believe me, we are not doctors. We are not medical professionals.
This is our story.
This is our story and what we have learned so far in our life journey.
What we found is that we don't know who to trust. Within the same day, I've had two different opinions on the exact same condition twice now. I was tested because I've been having, I don't want to call it vertigo or dizziness. It's more of an unbalanced sensation. I've been having that for years, so I've been going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and finally they sent me for vestibular testing, which I have never heard of in my life. Had you heard of it?
No, I certainly haven't.
Never heard of it.
But it was definitely worthwhile.
Well, when reading Casey Means' book, she said that when she was choosing her specialty in medical school, there was 42 specialties to choose from. I can't even name 42 body parts. Can you?
Yeah, in this journey, it's unbelievable the different doctors that we have met who do different things. Like really a doctor who really just operates on your ear, the inside of your ear, not the outside.
Ironically, that's what she was choosing to major in, was otology, which I never heard of an otologist.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
And
balance your ear with balance.
And they focus on certain parts of your inner ear that they can operate on. I mean, there's so much.
I had kids, Stephen, say there's a doctor for your index finger and a doctor for your thumb and a doctor for your pinky. So if you hurt your whole hand in an accident, you got to go to 5 different doctors.
Right, and that's not, you know.
That's almost true.
And right, exactly.
That's almost true, because she said after she was majoring in otology, I think it's otology or otology.
Yeah.
She said there was even more specialized. She didn't say the names of them, but she said she could actually work on less of your ear, just like one bone in your ear, and do surgeries. But she believed that she also operated on sinusitis and noses, and she believes that is all connected to diabetes and your metabolic issues. So she thinks it's all inflammation and the migraines and everything are all interconnected. So it's all.
Oh yeah, and there's a doctor for migraines. You know,
and different migraines, because a neurologist
migraines.
handles, well, I don't know if all neurologists handle migraines, but I'm going to a neurologist who handles migraines because
that's her specialty, is migraines.
Well, that's what the doctor who referred us said. But anyway, I was tested for vestibular issues, and I was diagnosed with vestibular migraines, which I have never heard of in my life before this year. Never.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard of a vestibular migraine?
Comment below. Let us know.
That is, I don't get the headaches. I don't get the pounding migraine.
It's not a pounding migraine. It's not a headache.
that is a sense of imbalance when you walk, and it comes on randomly.
Exactly.
Just like a migraine. You never know when it's going to hit.
Right, but the thing is that you don't figure that out because there's no pain or anything. So you think of a migraine as just a pounding in your head, but this is a different kind of migraine.
Well, about 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with ocular migraines, which I had
Yeah.
never heard of those either.
Yeah, never heard of that. I've had them.
We had just moved to Buffalo, and I had them. We were living in Pennsylvania, and I had them. And I waited till we moved to Buffalo, and I went to this eye doctor and told him my symptoms, which were everything would just get blurry, and I couldn't read for about 15 minutes. But I don't think there was usually no pain.
No.
And he said to me, "Do your friends get this?" And I was like, "What?" Well, I was thinking, I don't have any friends. I just moved here. Because back then, social media wasn't real big, and you don't think of your friends far away. But I didn't say that, but I was thinking, why is he asking about my friends and not asking about me? Well, basically, he was telling me that I was just making this up because ocular migraines, I don't know the percent of that, but they're rare too, right?
Right, well, I get ocular migraines.
Well, I don't know if they're 1%, like...
Yeah, when I got them, I thought I was losing my vision because you'd see squiggly lines and it's kind of blurry. And then it's like you're looking through a tube or something. And that would go on for about 20 minutes and then it's gone and everything's fine. You have no pain with it. And then I found out those were ocular migraines. And I'm like, that's interesting.
And for me, what might set it off is a light, like a light in the TV, or when I was working in a school making copies, I did close the top and the light flashed in my eyes and it set off an ocular migraine in school,
Right.
which is really tough when you're trying to read a book to kids and you can't see the letters. But anyway, I haven't had those in years, so I guess stress because we were moving contributed to that. But the doctor was extremely disrespectful. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I'm going blind too. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know.
Right.
So then I started getting these, I guess, vestibular migraines. I don't really know when, maybe 15 years ago, but I handled them, but they were getting worse in the last year. Again, I don't know. They say migraines are made worse with stress, and the last year's been extremely stressful. Steve had lost his job a year ago. Everything's expensive, food, utilities, insurance, everything is outrageous. And
Gasoline.
so whether you think you're stressed or not, you think you're handling it. I don't know that we are handling it. So I don't want to put the blame on me because doctors do usually blame women for their conditions. So I was diagnosed with that just this week, and I said, "What is the cure?" And she said, "The neurologist can give you prescriptions," which of course you probably won't find one that works for quite a few. You probably have to go through quite a few before you find the one that works for you. And I was thinking, well, that's just great. Can I do something to not have the migraine occur? But my triggers today are rain. We've been having violent storms like we live in Florida. They are my trigger.
Yeah, the barometric pressure is...
That's been my trigger, is these storms. Yeah. I start getting off balance before it rains. And then, like last night, we had a violent storm where we actually lost our power for a short period.
Right.
And then this morning, they said
it's rare that we lose our power.
Many people in the Atlanta or Georgia area, our trees fell. It was almost like tornado level storm, wasn't it?
No, it was horrendous. The dogs were up in arms and scared. And...
We were looking for emergency lights because usually we don't lose our power, but I do have emergency lights, so we're both scrambling to find those. And then I was going to bed, and you can't wear your CPAP to bed when you don't have power. But it came back on, luckily. But then when I'm laying in bed, it was just so violent I couldn't sleep.
It started storming again. You know, so it
right.
was horrendous.
So I had a terrible night's sleep, as reflected in my face with my lines from my CPAP machine. I barely slept. But anyway, going back to the testing, I want to tell you what the testing is. They start out, they tell you beforehand, no makeup, because they're going to put goggles on your eyes, no makeup on your eyes. You cannot eat anything heavy for 6 hours before, a light meal 2 hours before. They said it would be 2 hours. mine ended up being just under an hour. They put you on a seat that's 2 feet from a massive TV, and I'm like, I'm already uncomfortable having
Wow.
a big screen TV,
Yeah.
2 feet
Yeah.
in front of me. And she puts the goggles on. The room is dark, and then she puts a green ball, and you're supposed to follow this ball. And ironically, I had bought a Miss Pac-Man game to help with my.
She cheated.
I
She's
have-
been playing Miss Pac-Man.
Well, I thought it would help my, because I've been going to physical therapy for vestibular issues, and so I thought that would help. So I was anticipating where the green ball was going, and she stopped it and said, "You can't keep anticipating, you have to actually follow it." So I had to slow my eyes down and keep on that ball, because I was going ahead of the ball, knowing where it was going to go. So I had to slow down. So then she did that, and then she flashed some checkerboard that really made me feel sick, blue and yellow checkerboard, but she only had that on a couple seconds. I don't know what the point of that was. Then while she's doing this, she's asking you all types of questions because she wants your brain to go on just reflexes. She wants you to be focused, not focused on that, but on the questions.
Yeah.
Which she said she didn't care what the answers were, but she started out asking you like girls' names from A to Z. You know, and then she did a few math problems, which I was like, yay, math's my favorite. But apparently most females I find don't like math because she only did a handful. When I got them so quickly, she quit. She quit.
Okay, more math.
No, less math. She's like, and I was like, yeah, I want more math.
Yeah.
Less word questions, because I'm not a word person. I am a numbers person, but they always do words, not numbers.
Yep.
And I was like, she's giving me division and multiplication and, right?
Well, it's just very interesting in that she had these goggles on and that it was all being graphed. All her responses were being graphed on the computer. And while I was sitting by the computer watching that, and it's kind of like it goes up and down and up and down and, you know, not understanding what it is. But I could also see her eyes, and her eyes were darting back and forth constantly. You know,
The whole time, which is called nystagmus.
Yeah,
Nystagmus, which
nystagmus.
I found out one time years ago when my child told me, looking at me, they said, your eyes are moving back and forth. And I was like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. My eyes aren't moving. I actually got written up when I worked years ago. I went to a conference in Pennsylvania, and they said she looked bored. Her eyes were going all over the place. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. So my eyes were moving back then, and I got written up for my eyes moving for a
Sounds
medical
like a
condition.
lawsuit.
I didn't know what she was talking about, that my eyes were darting all around. So now I'm thinking, oh, my God. I had a medical condition this whole time, and
Yeah.
no one ever knew.
Yeah.
Although I did Google it and it said that doesn't contribute to off balance or dizziness. I don't know how it cannot when your eyes are going like this, always looking around, how you would not feel a little bit off when they're always
See,
moving.
right there. You see her eyes were darting back and forth. You know,
Following my finger.
Yeah.
So anyway, she also did what's called a Dixon Hall Pike maneuver, where she laid me back and put my head at a 45-degree angle to the right. This is what I did in physical therapy, so I was familiar with it. That shows you if you have the crystal moved in your ear, and you would get extremely dizzy. And I did not, because I had my crystal moved in physical therapy, moved back to where it's supposed to be with the Epley maneuver. So that one, I did not get dizzy. And then she did my left ear, which I never had a crystal in the wrong place in my left ear. But I was familiar with the test. I was nervous going into it because you lay flat, and often when I lay flat, I sometimes get dizzy. So I was anxious, thinking, and sometimes you get dizzy from that anxiety. She says, she had a name for that. I don't remember. Your anxiety causes the dizziness because you think you're going to be dizzy because you have been dizzy. Your brain says you were dizzy.
And
in
you're
the
in the
past.
same situation you were in when you were dizzy. Then your
Yeah.
brain says, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're in this situation.
Well, yeah.
You're going to be dizzy."
When I did it in physical therapy, it was scary. It was just spinning. I felt like I was falling off the table, and I grabbed the table, and I couldn't open my eyes. And she kept saying, open your eyes, because they have to look in your eyes. And I couldn't. I was like, no, everything's spinning. And I had to open them. And she's like, you definitely need to have that play maneuver
Yeah.
after that.
Yes.
So I'm thinking maybe I should have done this testing before physical therapy, but I couldn't get.
But physical therapy was a plus. I mean, it was good to go to physical therapy and have crystals put back in place.
Yes, but I'm saying-
I mean, if you're dizzy There's it could be a problem with a crystal out of place in your ears, and it's worth it to go to a physical therapy.
Well, there's a million reasons.
Yeah, but
There's,
I mean, if you've been to a doctor and they're like, well, take this pill, Antrovert or something.
well, actually, several doctors, because it took so many years, like this has been going on 15 years, off and on, not consistently. Several doctors did put me on antidepressants,
Right.
saying you're just depressed, which is a
Right.
common response for all females. You go to the doctor for anything, they're going to give you antidepressants.
Right, exactly. So you may want to try a physical therapist, and you most likely have to be referred to it.
You do have to be referred.
So if you ask your doctor to refer you to a physical therapist.
And here's the thing, our child reprimanded me and said, I can't believe you have not had this ear testing done earlier. And I said, 8 years ago, I did go to a physical therapist. I was referred for the dizziness, and this physical therapist didn't know vestibular physical therapy. He was Googling the exercises. He didn't know the Epley maneuver. I didn't know about crystals in your ears.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I had already crossed off ear issues.
Right, that's another thing is that the physical therapist has to know about vestibular
therapy, which
therapy.
the average person doesn't. I never heard of it in my
Right.
life. Even though I had been to therapy 8 years ago, they didn't call it vestibular therapy. They just
Right.
called it. And I didn't continue to go because it wasn't really helping me. He was literally Googling the exercises. Well, I could do that, which I have done off and on.
Right.
But anyway, so other things that she did, she put black goggles over I had goggles on, she put black shields in them and told me to look at us like to the right, to the left, or wherever. And that's where she saw my eyes really darting. She said they mostly darted when it was black, that you're searching because there's no point of reference.
Mm-hmm.
So mine were darting more than the average person, but they were darting mostly when it was black, not usually when I didn't have the blackout shield on the goggles. So after going through, and then the last thing was she blew cold air in my right ear. That was a
Right.
little painful, but not too bad. But then when she got to the left ear, I thought I was going to throw up. I felt very, very nauseous. And she gave me a alcohol wipe and said, sniff this, and that will, I don't know, distract your mind
Yeah,
from throwing
yeah.
up. Sniff it 3 times,
Yeah.
breathe in and out 3 times, and I didn't throw up, which I haven't thrown up since I got pregnant the first time. I have never thrown up again. I was fainting through the pregnancy, so I never threw up again. So I warned her. I said, I may not, if I feel like I'm going to throw up, I may faint, because I have not thrown up in 35
Mm-hmm.
years. Amazing. But I actually don't really faint either. I just feel upset. I just feel like I could throw up if I get some upset stomach. I don't faint either at this point. So she said at the end, she said, you were able to follow instructions, so the test went quickly. And I'm thinking, well, who isn't able to follow instructions? What does that mean? Weren't you confused? Like, it was supposed to be 2 hours. I felt kind of ripped off. You paying as much. Oh, and that was another thing. They wouldn't tell me what it cost. They would not tell me. I asked them several times beforehand, and they said, call your insurance. Well, my insurance, I don't even know how to call my insurance to get a price. So when I went in, I said, what is this going to cost me? She said, oh, good thing you asked. Here it is. And I was filling out the paperwork, so I didn't see the total cost, but they said your insurance pays $0. And Steve thinks, I thought it said $1,200, but Steve thought it was closer to $2,000. But they said if you pay cash today, it's a 75% discount.
Ooh, cash price.
So it's $466 today in full. You had a second option of getting a 50% discount and making payments for, I don't know, 6 months or something of $103.
Something like that.
I don't know. I was just like, I was tempted to walk out when I'm like, it's $466. That's a fortune to us.
So the point here is that when you go to get testing done, ask what the cash price is.
Well, I didn't. I honestly, no.
I-
What does that tell you if the cash price is 75% off? What does that tell you? What does that tell you if the cash price is 75% off? Is it 75% administrative and executive bonuses? What does that tell you? That's what that's the message I was getting.
That's a whole nother video.
No, I was like 75% off if you don't go through your insurance.
Right. That's a whole nother video.
So now I'm just going to have to really watch that after these last few testing things. Like, we have no idea what this heart monitor is costing. I asked them to. They couldn't tell me. I'm hoping to God that's not another $500, because after this, I'm going to have to not be able to go to the doctors. I'm not going to be able to go. Yeah, and they asked me when she started the test. She said, "I've got these questions that I have to ask you, that we ask everybody. Do you have to choose between medicines and food?" And I hesitated. Like, first of all, I'm trying to avoid all medications and try to do alternatives. But I was thinking, I didn't say it. I thought later I should have said, "You should have asked me, do I have to choose between going to the doctor at all and
Right.
food?" Because I now do have to choose between even going to the doctor. I
Right, and my point is that my perspective is that you don't go to the doctor unless you're gravely ill, or you have some indications that you need help with some part of your body. Other than that, you don't really go to the doctor. I mean, that's kind of, what's been drilled in my head from when I was a kid, is that there's no need to go to the doctor unless you have some issue.
Right, but when you have balance issues, what is that?
Well, that was an issue.
That's an issue, and nobody could tell me what it was until
Right.
I went to, I don't know how many different six.
Right. Unfortunately, with that issue, is that you have to just keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to the root of the problem and somebody who can resolve it.
Because there's so many reasons you are unbalanced or dizzy or have vertigo. I don't call
Right.
it's not vertigo for me. But anyway, it's been a frustrating journey, and we're coming to the end. And I quit physical therapy. I ended it. I can do the exercises at home myself now. I've been
Right.
there long enough, and we're going to get the results. Well, we're not going to get the results of the heart monitor until October because I can't afford to go to the doctor. We have to go in October to get blood taken for our cholesterol levels, and then we're going to go in October to get the results of the heart monitor and the blood, because this is only July, right? But we figured if there is something major on this heart monitor, they would be telling us, because somebody's supposedly monitoring it. And also, one more thing is, if you have any signs of heart distress, you're supposed to press this button in the middle, and there's 4 categories, and one is tired, fatigued. And we exercised one day. I had 85 minutes of vigorous exercise, and I was exhausted. It was exhausted because we've also changed our diet. Like Steve said, we've reduced it to fruits and vegetables. So I feel like I'm weaker because it's not as substantial. I was exhausted. I'm like, do I press this or not? So if I press it, that's going to require another test.
Ooh.
But I'm tired because I know why. Because I've
Right. Exactly.
exercised and ate
So
less.
you don't press it.
I think that day I did because I was exhausted. But the rest of the times, I haven't really pressed it because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. If I press it enough times, they're going to say you have an issue, and now you've got to do that stress test.
Right, and that's where I say, be your own health advocate. Learn everything that you can, especially about your body, and be your own health advocate. I wore the same heart monitor, and if I was exhausted, they don't need to know that. I'm exhausted because I exercise, and we changed our diet. So there's a lot that goes into that. I sleep well, but you still can be exhausted. And if you don't have heart issues, then being exhausted is most likely from exertion and the change in nutrition levels.
But as the tech who gave him the stress test told us, many people don't know they have heart issues. She said many people come in there looking great, healthy, have no pain, and they do have a result in the stress test. Or many people die of their first heart attack. Like one of our old neighbors died at 58 of a heart attack. And Lindsey Graham, he didn't have a heart attack, but he had the
Right.
aorta dissection, right?
Right, tear.
Tear in
Yeah.
his arteries.
Aorta.
That's what, my cousin died of the same thing
Yeah.
one morning at 61, and Lindsey Graham was what, 69?
70.
No, 71. He was
Right,
71. He was a little older than the other people who have died. So what she's saying is you keep telling yourself you don't have heart issues,
Right.
but it is the number one killer.
And then also, if you understand what a stress test does, is a stress test, they take your blood pressure and they do an EKG before the test to get a baseline. And then from that baseline, they take your heart rate up to, my case was 130, and it went to 131. And they look at your EKG, and your EKG is going to show beats of your heart, and if there's any issue with AFib, or not. So stress test basically takes your heart from the baseline of where you are when you first walk in, up to 130, and they look at EKG, which shows peaks and valleys of your heart as it beats, and they're looking for AFib or any kind of skipping of a beat or anything of that sort, which would indicate some cardiovascular possibility of cardiovascular issues. And then they're also checking your blood pressure, and then they bring it back down, and that's why you're on a treadmill and you're running, and they speed it up to get your heart rate up. And if there's anything wrong, it's going to show on your EKG.
You can still have an issue and it doesn't show on the stress test.
Right. I've also, when I was in the hospital, had a CAT scan, echocardiogram of my heart with contrast and without, and everything came out to be normal.
But like I'm saying, this is the thing. I don't think that these tests always catch when you have an issue. I feel like they're just waiting and waiting. They're like, we know you're going to have an issue eventually. But I feel like until you have that heart attack or stroke, they don't know. I don't know that these tests, I mean, maybe if you're extremely severe, they do. But if you're just in a mild case like we might be, I don't feel like they catch it. So I feel like they just have you on hold. Like, we know you're going to have an issue. So I can't live my life
Well,
like
everybody's going to have an issue eventually.
Well, everybody, everyone would have.
That's why you have to be in tune to your body, and any changes that take place.
But I don't feel like I could be on hold, like just waiting for that issue, like going I don't know if they want us to come back every year. Because she asked me when I came back, why haven't you come back in 3 years? I'm like, because there was nothing to come back for. You never told me.
Why come back?
You never told me to come back. I didn't have a heart labeled. Well, I mean, I do have plaque. I do know that low-level plaque. But she never said come back in a year or anything. And I'm not going to just run through these tests every year, just waiting for that. Oh yeah, you're going to have a heart attack. I can't live my life in fear. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw this week that Georgia ranked 49th in healthcare in America.
Doesn't surprise me. I don't really have anything to say about that. If you want to look at the states that rank the lowest, it's usually Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas.
Well, it surprised me because Mississippi was 50th, but we ranked lower than Alabama and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tennessee
and West
usually
Virginia?
ranks pretty good. And West Virginia, yeah, usually it's Arkansas and Alabama.
You know, I'm thinking just off the top of my head, we have much more diversity. We have a lot more people from different countries. It could be that because it was based on cost and outcome. We did not expand the ACA, and we have a huge diverse population. I think we have one of the most diverse, maybe other New York or California are similar, but it could be those facts. So it could be that more than that. You know, that we're doing a worse job than other states.
Right.
But it is kind of concerning. I mean, our hospitals are closing left and right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, without
especially
expanding,
in the small towns.
We do have a high population of uninsured people because we didn't expand ACA. And I think, children are supposed to get some peach care or something, but I think I read that.
Well, yeah, Georgia pulled out of ACA, so Georgia has their own healthcare system. And I can't really talk about that. I don't know.
It's supposedly it's very similar. You go on a website and we don't really.
Yeah, but you don't. I mean, they have the major healthcare providers in that, like Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and everybody else. But
the other big news was that they changed the cholesterol guidelines again this month, where they've said that kids from 10 on should be tested, and now the people who qualify for statins are 1 in 3 adults. Now qualify, they look at your 10 and 30-year risk of a heart attack, and even if you're a low risk, I think in 10 years, but they feel like in 30 years you're going to have a heart attack. I think they tell you to start taking a statin today, which we're not medical people, but seems a little extreme to us that.
Seems very extreme.
Well, I'm surprised.
Because the age range now is 30 to 79. That's a big age
for
range
taking statins. But they're testing 10-year-olds.
They're testing 10-year-olds. Right. And, all I can say is that the prescriptions for statins must have really dropped off. that
No,
they're
there's
changing this. And,
it's the biggest. I've seen on videos. It's the biggest moneymaker. It's
statins.
The
Statins. I mean, they do a job. There's no doubt about it. I took statins for 20 years, and it helped me. It brought down my cholesterol. But there's also side effects with it too. And are you willing to put up with the side effects? And so, getting on a statin when you're 30, I don't know. I'd probably play that card for a little bit longer before getting on a statin.
Well, ironically, when I was in the ER, the neurologist, male doctor, said that he was 34, and he said he has family history of heart problems. So he wanted to take a statin, and I think he said they wouldn't give it to him until he was 35.
Right. Well, now that's changed.
Now that's 30. He could take that statin.
Yeah.
And for me, they gave me 80 milligrams of Lipitor, which is the top dose. And for someone of my size and female, I had every single reaction, which I think would be normal because that dosage
That's very high.
It's the highest you could possibly get. They typically start you at 10 or 20 and have you work up to see if your body can handle it. Well, I couldn't. I could not handle it. So I had to quit taking it, and I agonized because they make you feel like you're going to die not taking the statin. And maybe I am, but I figured it made it made me dizzy. I'm like, well, I'm going to die from the fall. From it making me dizzy, I'm going to be falling. So that's why we did change diet and exercise. We're trying to lose weight. I'm not losing any weight. My body, I think it says, hey, you're getting less calories, so this keeps keeping.
Let's hold on to these calories you have.
Yeah, so I'm not. Although my face looks slightly thinner, it does seem like it's more. My cheekbones are more pronounced. Overall, I'm not losing weight, and it's frustrating because I told Steve if we go in October, test our cholesterol and our LDLs, and mine are higher or the same, I am going back to my bread and desserts. I have given up my favorite bread and desserts, and if I don't lose any weight and my cholesterol is the same, there's no point in giving up my foods, right?
We're just going to toss it to the wind.
Well, if my cholesterol is the same, and it should not be because it was so high.
Yeah.
I mean, we're eating foods I can't stand.
Like fish.
Well, fish isn't so bad.
Spinach.
I've gotten to liking salmon. I don't like beans, so we're eating a lot of beans. And I don't know, what are we eating? Oh, yogurt, Greek, no sugar yogurt, Greek yogurt with fruit. So I am eating a lot of fruit, which has a lot of sugar. So that may be an issue.
But we're going to see. And also understand that there are places where you don't have to go to the doctor to have your lab work done. You can go to LabCorp or Quest. They usually have a storefront in a shopping center near you. And their prices aren't bad for a cholesterol test.
Well, I think, wasn't it $169 or something?
Well, that was a totally different test. For a cholesterol test, you can get it done for $59.
But I think we want to get the advanced one.
Right. And so that's going to cost more. And then you get the results, and you could take those results to your physician. I think Quest will actually send it to your physician, and you can use health insurance with Quest, but LabCorp you can't.
Well, I'm tired of paying out of pocket like I did for the vestibular testing. We pay a huge sum of money for insurance because I am on Cobra now. So I'm tired of paying out of pocket, and we don't have the money to keep paying out of pocket. So it is getting to the point where my HSA is almost wiped out. So I just will not be able to go to the doctor if I continue to be unbalanced or whatever. I will just have to learn to deal with it. We talk about other issues and health issues. We're going to be traveling some point in the future. And
we hope to make it up north to watch the leaves change.
Well, we like to go somewhere, maybe up to Maine, but that's a dream. That's a dream. So please subscribe and
comment. Don't forget, comment below and hit notification and like.
And until we see you again,
take it easy.